Okay, we should be live. Let me know if the audio is good and all that good stuff. Hopefully there's not enough, or there isn't lag. Every time I do these live streams, there's always an audio problem. I've been trying to figure that out beforehand, which is why we're running late today. But hopefully I don't have any issues. Everything looks fine on my end. I don't really see too much lag, but it might be desynchronized. I don't know. It could be or it might not be. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Let's see. Am I centered? I could move over a little bit that way. There we go. Right? Yeah. All right. We're good. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the best TVs of 2022 so far, because there have been a lot of reporters putting out tons of articles talking about, the usual. Hey, this TV's amazing. It's better than they've ever made. That kind of thing. It's like the hype train that they always create. We're here to talk about if those trains that they're creating are actually justified, if it's worth it, things like that. So smack a like on the live stream because, again, we're just diving right into the point. So the best TVs so far, right now, that at least as far as I understand, that you can buy are going to be, obviously, the LG C1. If we're looking exclusively at 2022 TVs, then your options do get a little bit more limited because so far 2022 has not been a great year for TVs. It really hasn't been. We're waiting for the budget options to come out. And most people are still kind of feasting off of last year's models. So it's just kind of like, and not even that though, like when we pay more money, right, to go up to like the more expensive TVs, you would think like, wow, I paid the premium, bam, I've got it. But not necessarily, because like after you play with certain budgets, you aren't necessarily rewarded, like you guys saw with the Samsung S95B, the firmware update that takes away peak brightness. Now again, if you're one of those people that value accuracy above all else and you couldn't care less about any brightness loss that you're going to run into, then yeah, sure, maybe you might not have a problem. I did see some people say something to the effect of, hey, Samsung took away 1,000 nits, but it's not a big deal because that's inaccurate already out the gate. It was a defect. They should have fixed it. It should have never have launched that way kind of idea. And like, the creator in me just dies when I hear things like that, because it's like you always want more brightness headroom to work with than less. I mean, if you go into it with a dim screen or a dimmer screen, you're not going to have as much to throw out behind certain highlights. And people are finding that out in the HDR. I saw a couple of videos, not even just me talking about it at this point, where they're like, yo, something ain't right with the HDR on this. It's lower after the update, and people are not happy about it. So I think it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, I think we all can kind of agree, like when you pay for something and they advertise it, it should be there. But that's kind of a part of this conversation. Because then we see what's happening where the A95K hasn't even launched yet. We have hella reporters already creating, the narrative that it's the best TV right now. It's going to be the best OLED. It's going to be the king's OLED. Everybody with money wants to buy this thing. I mean, how, though? It's a $3,000 55-inch. Again, Sony is not listening to anyone. And if we're to understand, it's got a tilt to the screen. It doesn't do chroma sampling 444 with like 120 hertz. And it has a lot of issues that it shouldn't have, like raised black levels and things like that for a premium product, but that's not going to stop them from glowing about it. Now, I have to get it in, test it, but I'm a normal person. I'm not one of these cherry-picked, journalists that get everything first and then, hey, it's great, buy it. Never update it, never follow up after the updates. You know what I mean? We're stuck with the crap, but then they're walking away like everything's cool. So it's going to have to be tested, but hopefully it's decent. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Sony. I've seen their line this year. It's not been good. You talk about the X95K, the X85K. I mean, it's been really disappointing across the board from a lot of perspectives. Now, the good news is that you do have some TVs that have shined really well, like the LG G2, from what I'm hearing, is a really great TV. And if it's anything like the LG C2, yeah, it'll be a solid TV. And then, of course, it's basically the brighter version of that. So I think that's great, but like for me, I can't get behind it because it doesn't have a stand. I know many people like to wall mount. I'm not one of them. I don't want to hassle with wall mounting, finding the proper mount, hoping I did it right, it doesn't fall on the floor, hiring a professional to mount my TV for me. I'm not doing any of that. I want to take it out of the box, put it on a media console, and leave it alone. You know what I mean? I'm very simple in that way. So for me, that's why that TV, I haven't reviewed it, and I don't plan on reviewing it, because it's like, give me a stand and we'll talk. But otherwise, it's just like whatever. And then, of course, we have other TVs like the LG C2. Now, the thing with that one is it's a solid TV. It's a good TV, but it's kind of like with 2022, what you have to be aware of is it's more along the lines of they kind of are just replacing what we already have on the market. There's not really a clear need for these TVs to truly exist, like outside of the annual cash grab. And what I mean by that is, like, you have TVs, for example, like the QN90B. It is not a champion in any aspect of the word. Just buy the QN90A, like, straight up. It's the same thing, more or less. There's not any real new feature that you're getting over it. There's, like, nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. But nobody tells you that. And so it's hard, I know, when you guys are looking for information. So if you have particular models, again, as we're doing this live stream, just drop them in the comments here, and I'll see them, and I'll help you guys out, and I'll answer whatever questions you have with that. Speaking of which, we have a couple of guys here. We've got Anonymous. You said the audio is perfect. Thank you, man. We've got Craig. You said hi, Quantum. A90K review. The A90K is one of those weird TVs. That's the 48 inch, I believe. I don't really review that particular size because it's kind of niche. I don't know, not everybody's going to really get into it. And the other thing is, like, price point as well. You have to consider these things when you do reviews, at least independently, because, again, it's like you can buy the most expensive thing out there, but it's kind of pointless because not everybody's going to do that, especially now. We have to be very cautious with our dollars, right? You guys know for a fact gas is up, mortgage rates are up, insurance, all that. Everything's up. We're not really winning. And, like, for me, like, being the ultimate consumer advocate, I look at all this and I'm like, all right, but, like, really though, are these TVs truly worth the price markup? Like, for example, buying the Samsung S95B. As much as I love my Samsung S95B, the answer is no. Like, I paid a hell of a lot of money for it, right? But they have broken UI features like color management. Still doesn't work. I heard there's a new update. I would bet my bottom dollar that they still didn't fix that. You know what I mean? And then they still have other issues. And most of the TVs are like this. It's so bad as consumers. We're kind of stuck in this place where we're just kind of like, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect TV. I'm going to stop looking. I'm going to stop trying. They, like, beat us into submission almost, and we start settling, like, hard. And it's to the point where it's just kind of like, I don't know. For the best TV that you can find right now, you're really, honestly, if we're looking at strictly 2022, it's going to be hard because, kind of like what I was saying earlier, it's just they're not bringing their best, and they have no interest in bringing their best, and that's just kind of what it is. Now, I see some questions coming in here. I want to make sure I'm answering all of your questions. Again, this is your time to pick my brain, ask anything you want, and I'll do what I can to help you guys out. What's going on, Craig? We've got Lakers 3. Oh yeah, I already answered that one. We've got what's your favorite TV this year? So far, my favorite TV this year has been the Samsung S95B. Now, I think if I were to pick a secondary TV, I actually surprisingly really liked the LG C2. I only have one big gripe. The motion is worse than the C1 substantially, to the point where you're going to notice motion artifacts and fast-moving things. The best example I could give you is like someone twirling a ribbon, or like what I was doing, I was watching anime, Demon Slayer, the Entertainment District arc. That was terrible, because when they're on, well, I don't want to spoil it, so I was going to tell you something. I think I kind of spoiled it in other videos, but I won't do it again, because I do get that from time to time. They're like, dude, I'm just here to watch TV information, no spoilers on the anime. So I got to be careful with that, because I'm watching it, so I just imagine like everybody's watching it. That's totally not how that works. So I got to be careful with that. But you'll see what I mean. There's a lot of particle effects, let's call them that. And yeah, it falls apart really easily. So I think, yeah, the C2, though, still had awesome sound quality for what it was. It was almost as good as the S95B. But, again, it's hard, really, because it's like they didn't really do a whole lot outside of that, though. It's a little brighter than the C1 in some areas, but then totally reversed. Like, it gets its ass baked in others. So it's weird. I still have my Sony X950g. The Sony X950g is actually pretty solid. It gets pretty bright. Of course, I'm always a stickler for blooming and stuff like that, but as far as that goes, it was like one of Sony's last LED televisions, if not the last one, if I'm actually remembering correctly, that was really actually worth anything. Because most of the other stuff, like, and if you have one of the newer Sonys, don't hear that and be like, damn, he's really dogging my TV. It's like, no, really, like, I have been, like, one of the, like, biggest believers from day one in Sony. But they, through the years, have proven you cannot do that. Like, you can, sure, but there are consequences, like bad customer service if you have issues with them, or, you know, blooming that you're just going to have to settle with, or features that come almost 2 years later in an update. Like, they're so behind, and it's just kind of like, at what point are they premium? And that's kind of how I feel about Sony in general, though. Hey, my dad became a member and went to the C1 settings part and noticed that LG must have patched the HDMI signal override menu. Yeah, wanted us to enter. Can we still use the settings without the secret menu? For that, I would probably try to use the app-based settings, because you can use the core values of my settings. Of course, it'll still translate. The problem is, though, you're not going to be getting the color correction, if you can call it that. So some of the things that I do later on in the more advanced portions of it will end up kind of throwing off your results a little bit, as far as the end product there. So you can, but I would highly recommend, like, if you don't have access to it, they took it away, then yeah, I would. Like, that's so crappy. Like, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's like, you know, no sooner than you enjoy something, it's like they take it away from you. It's like they like taking hope away from people. It's so strange. I think it's one of those things where, for the settings that you could use, I would say the filmmaker mode ones for sure, and the app ones, that'll probably be my best bet. I'll try to make something for those people who do end up getting screwed over by updates. Because this is not the first, second, or even third or fourth time I've heard this happen. But I haven't updated my C1. So, I mean, I literally refuse to do it because I don't want to lose that. If the C1 loses that HDMI signaling override, in my opinion, it is a valueless TV for me. And I have no use for it. I would sell it immediately. I'd be like, yo, any of you guys want it, I'll give you a great deal on it. I'm not gonna keep it. Or I'd just sell it on, you know, Facebook Marketplace or whatever. Like, I would get rid of it, dump it. Just like I did with the C10. I can't do it, man. And that's just my thing. If you can, try to check to make sure you're using an HDMI device, because it is a menu that only works with HDMI. That would be my best advice. But of course, if you've already tried that, then, you know, you kind of already have your answer, of course. Anonymous, what's going on, man? You said, love to see an updated S95B versus C1/C2/U8G. Because now that Samsung's QD OLED is pushing lower nits, the color volume won't shine near as much. So how's it really compare? So I think that's actually one of those things that I've been hearing a lot this week, and I am going to put out an updated comparison, because I do think that is important to update the information as we have it. And as it stands, yeah, the nits are lower. And if that changes, because the C1, if you recall, in my last comparison was already really damn close. It was like they were neck and neck, but the S95B with the extra luminance was just able to produce color volume to pull ahead in ways that the C1 just could not. Now, again, quantum dots still being a factor here, maybe that gives you some extra saturation, deeper color, but is it so much so that, like, you're gonna pay a big price hike over the super discounted LG C1? Like, so far, I see everyone that I kind of bump into taking me up on my advice in the comments, and I appreciate you guys for doing that, which is, again, dude, just buy the C1 before they're discontinued. It's literally like an S-rank product, and I think they're kind of catching on to how hard it's going to be to make something like that again, and how hard it's going to be to sell stuff like that. So, of course, my thinking, now, there are people who call this a conspiracy theory, and those people, for all intents and purposes, have never experienced the world of business. It is not a conspiracy, but I'll say it anyway at the risk of being labeled one, okay? I truly believe that companies who have had a history of being sued and taken to court for using updates to, you know, do planned obsolescence would do it again on other products. And I think the reason for doing that is quite obvious. It's a conflict of interest. If I make For example, this Samsung phone, and I tell you it's got X, Y, and Z, and later, after all of my darling YouTubers that I've paid to market my product, give me a great review, and so all the news articles you're ever going to see are going to say I'm the best, I'm great. But then I can then go back in after they gave me my review and destroy your product. Now guess what you have to do? You either have to throw it away and walk away from me as a brand, or you can upgrade to my latest thing, thinking that innocent thought that most everybody else thinks. Come on, don't be ridiculous. It is not in their best interest to destroy their products. Who would do that? Obviously, they'd lose customers. Oh, you conspiracy theorist, crazy guy. Oh my God, they would never do anything shady. Like, bro, I mean, those people that really believe that, I feel bad for you the day you see your hero for what they really are. Because, man, it ain't what it seems out here, dude. It really isn't. And that's the sad part about all this. Now, that being said, we've got, what up, love the 3080 Ti. Yeah, I actually have been spending a good amount of time this last couple of weeks really building up on my PC, making little custom adjustments, and of course using professional help where needed, because let's be real, I don't have the time or patience to sit there and do the more tedious stuff. I did it for my first PC, like redoing the power supply and all that. That took way too much damn time, and I'm not about to do all that, so I let somebody else do that. But the fun stuff, like hooking up all the RGBs to the motherboard and all that cool shit, like, oh my God, let me go at it. Even now, like, I'm still waiting for my part. I can't wait to see my case with it, because I got another mount to put in my case. Like, oh my God, I'm so excited for it. Like, even now, like, bro, if you guys want to talk PC with me, like, I will have so much fun. Because some of you guys do some crazy stuff with, like, liquid water coolers that look like little Mario tubes and stuff like that. Some people, like, I saw one girl, she is an actual YouTuber, go figure, was building, she built, like, a castle out of her PC. It was the craziest thing. I was just, how do you even do that? Like, it's so big. Where would you put that? But it was cool. It looked like a little miniature house. It was cool. If you can call that big thing miniature, but still. So, yeah. I appreciate that, man. And yeah, if you guys want to share your PC builds or like your favorite technology, the best way to do all that fun stuff, join us over on the Discord. It's a poppin' party over there, man. We talk about everything from photography to technology to like just hanging out. Like, we just talk about everything. And there's a bunch of communities for audio, dedicated to everything, which shout out to you, Anonymous, for basically holding it down. I rarely ever check in the Discord or even do much of anything. I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters. We've got Handycart, Mexican, we've got, we got Big Ben, all you guys, just fantastic. Troy, all you guys, holding it down, man. Fantastic. So, yeah. Getting back to the comments here. We've got, also, Quantum, what is the best TV overall for gaming? Watching TV together along with great sound. Appreciate your answers. Keep it up. Keep up with your legit content. I appreciate that, man. So, as far as, like, okay, you're gaming, for example, or watching a movie, the big thing, honestly, that I look at in my reviews, which is why I do them the way that I do, is, like, there will never be a TV, period, on Quantum TV. I can't speak for other publications or platforms or anything like that, but on this particular channel, you're never going to see a single TV I recommend that is not good at gaming and good at movie watching. You know what I mean? You have to have both, because that is the viewing experience, in my opinion. And to fail at one and exceed at the other means you're a worthless TV, because you're giving me 50% of a product, and at that point, I wash my hands of you. But I think, again, the bread and butter right now, really, I mean, people are leaning more towards the G2 this year. If you're like really for a 2022 TV, I've seen a lot of people buy a G2 if they're wall mounting. We've got a lot of people picking up that S95B. They had a crazy sale like over the 4th of July. They'll do it again, I'm sure, where it was like $17.99 for the 55-inch. That was a damn good deal. Even had me sitting here like, God damn, I lost. I could have just had it at a good price if I was patient, but they hit me with all the stuff that a nerd like me likes to hear. Quantum dots, perfect black, 1500 nits of peak brightness. I was like, all right, here's my money. And then no sooner than I do that, it's like, well, I got screwed. So, you know, it is what it is. We've got the Christian Conservative. I appreciate your donation of $20, brother. Thank you for your help. And making everything that we do here possible. So thank you. You go on to say, how subjective are your settings in your opinion? For example, liking vivid settings over filmmaker mode settings on the UHG. I would say my settings are highly subjective because they are basically 100% like built off of the viewers. So it's basically anybody from any walk of life that watches anything decides, hey, my particular TV looks a little too green or a little too red. You know what I mean? Or a little too blue. Then I go in and I make settings and adjustments based off of those parameters, and then I look at other things, of course, like color science and gamma mapping and things like that to see, is it really reaching the targets that it's supposed to reach in some aspects, and what am I comfortable sacrificing as far as accuracy and whatever, because truth be told, we're trying to see a beautiful picture. Nobody cares about accuracy. As somebody who is formerly a professional calibrator, nobody cares about accuracy. That is a dying profession, and that is something that people just don't like. God bless you. Wife had to sneeze, you gotta say God bless you. It's rude not to. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like subjective in that sense, right? Like everybody comes to me and they say, hey, Quantum, can you make settings for this? Can you make settings? I still got people asking stuff for like, custom stuff. So sometimes I can do it, sometimes I can't. I feel real bad when I can't because obviously I'm still independent, right? I'm unfortunately not one of those, again, cherry pick guys that get pick of the litter for everything they can dream to want. So I have to be very selective, and that means, of course, because budget is limited, we can't just buy every TV that has ever existed. So some people come to me, hey, I bought the Samsung TU8000, or hey, I bought the, I had another one this week, it was like a Sony X70 or something like that, X75 or something like that, X75K or something like that. And sometimes it can help, sometimes it can't. So subjective in the terms of that. Now, as far as, I would say, modes, particularly those aren't really subjective, in my opinion. I feel like the best mode on particular TVs are going to be like, depending on how they make them. So what I mean is like, for example, on Samsung TVs, your best mode is always going to be movie mode. Period. Like, take it out of the box, put it in movie mode, and then adjust from there. Then you're going to get the actual best you can see. That's usually where the luminance is brighter. From all the years I've been reviewing and testing and all that crap, like Samsung's TVs, always movie mode. Sony's TVs are a little bit of an odd horse. You can sometimes get away with cinema mode, but it's usually dimmer than all the other modes. Then you can, of course, roll into standard mode. But now recently they have the IMAX Enhanced mode, which I love. And I think that is the best mode in any Sony TV, and you should just use that and build upon that. Then, of course, there's LG. For LG, I tend to favor cinema a lot more as well, just because it just looks better. Of course, they have the ISF presets. They have the filmmaker mode presets. I don't really like those. I like to build off of the cinema one. But again, that's personally, like, from my experience, those have been the better modes to perform a little stronger. So hopefully that helps. What's up, Q, man? I was all set looking at the A80K and take the Z9D in my bedroom until I saw your video the other day about dead pixels. Glad I saw that before I bought something, and you said so. Thanks again. Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like I've been getting a lot of hatred over that video, like a lot of hatred. A lot of people, really angry OLED owners, coming on and saying that's fake. You had that because you were in PC mode, or how are you using it? How many hours? How old is this OLED? And it gets to a point sometimes, like as somebody that's making YouTube videos, it's like, can you take the time to actually watch the video before you get upset, or are you just here to like hear something negative and then run away? Tuck your head in the dirt and then like continue to move along the ground with your head stuffed in the ground. Like it blows my mind sometimes, because it's like it's right there in the video. It's a 2019 OLED, and then I'll get that question, and it's like, oh my god, like it's right there, man. Come on, And so you have to explain things 1,000 times. It's also pretty sucky. But the cool thing is, people like you who come out and who watch it and who appreciate and they understand, like, I'm showing something that we need to know. Like, no other reviewer is going to do this, period. I'm going to be very real with everyone watching right now. I don't care how long you've been watching, how long you've been a member or subscribed, or even if you're just casually strolling in to watch, maybe even trolling like, yo, what is this motherfucker up to? Like, it doesn't matter. I try to help everyone I can. And the thing is, it's like, I know for a fact other people have no vested interest in doing this because there's no money in it. Honesty is not lucrative, period. Marketing is. YouTube is a marketing platform where companies come to YouTube and put ad space on all of our videos, whether we're monetized or not. That's why most people just turn on ads, because YouTube, even on smaller creators who aren't eligible for monetization, put ads on their video. That's the platform we're on. It's a marketing platform, straight up. Okay, so of course you have people that lie and they're not going to tell you all the stuff. And so it's so important for me on my, like the original, like YouTube, it's your space to put your content out. Like that's my idea of like the ideal YouTube world, right? Where everyone is a legit community and they try to help with information versus hoarding the truth for sake of those precious little dollars or commissions. It's so chysty. It's like, dude, just tell the truth. Like, we're going to find out. But the thing that, like being a consumer, I say it a million times over the years, and I'll say it again, that really, like, made me what I am as a creator is, like, I really hated the feeling, like, when you trust somebody that, you go to or you thought was, like, oh, a professional body. In my case, it was Artings back in 2015, right? Maybe even longer than, no, it was 2015 for the Sony X850C, infamous X850C I talk about all the time. It's just kind of like, from that point, I was just like, okay, something needs to be done about this, because this is everywhere. Everyone's like just making money on the YouTube platform, which is great, but like, I'm spending my money and I'm trusting these people. Like, and anyone who says, any idiot that trusts a YouTube video deserves to get taken advantage of is the problem. And I mean that in the nicest sense of the word, because it's like, we don't have every skill. We still have room to learn, and that's why we're looking at these videos, right? That's why many of you guys watch me, to learn something. Like, hey, I don't know what this feature does. How does this compare to this? You have this, let me know. You have the tools, hook it up, test it, verify it. The same thing as if you're watching a how-to video or a DIY video. So we go to each other for knowledge. And so for me, I watch these YouTubers constantly weaponize their platform. They'll gain the subscribers, which is all good and fine, which is all they're in it for, frankly, clout. They'll be like, I don't have enough subscribers, it's time to subscribe, people, chop chop. Or they'll go to the highest sponsor or bidder. And so for me, it's like really frustrating, because it's like, I see the human element of it, where we are kind of at a disadvantage as legit consumers, not YouTubers on the platform, like gimme, gimme, gimme to the highest sponsor, but like people. So I think that's like my whole little thing here. So hopefully that little side rant aside, you guys can kind of understand where I'm going with it. But yeah, that's kind of what I'll say about showing transparency about things like dead pixels over time and things like that. So shout out to you, Terry Reed, for picking up on that. That's very important to me, that people are getting that impact. So I appreciate that. We've got Pat ALB. You said wow in the flesh. I don't know what wow in the flesh is supposed to mean, but okay. We've got Craig, what's going on? You said, what kind of colorful lights are behind your head? So the one right back here, this is the Govee Glide. The one over here, this is just a little lamp. It's just a generic lamp. I think, I don't know the name of the store. I want to say it was like a Kirkland that I found it at. I don't know. And then the lights on my desk, Govee as well. They're strip lights. I think it's like 6199, H6199 or something like that. I don't know the exact model number. And then of course over here we've got the Govee Lyra lamp. So yeah, those are all the lights that I use. And of course I've got like a little custom made, right there, a little custom made little plant thing that I did together, put it together. Put some nice epic little chargeable fairy lights and stuff like that to make it look nice. Have fun with it. So yeah, those are all my lights in my setup, Craig. We've got some picture modes unlock more juicy features to play with. You said, Q, can you please talk more about that creative process and how you game the system to pull as much as you can out of the TVs? That is probably the best question I have ever seen on this entire chat, because that is a seriously good question to ask. Okay, so when it comes to the creative process of tackling settings, it's not random. Sometimes, I know when I make settings, for some people it might seem random, but it's very methodical. I'll sit there probably 2 days prior planning on the mode and the look that I'm going for with that particular mode and what it's capable of doing. For example, I have new Samsung S95B settings after the update that I'm going to give you guys. I've been waiting to do that to make sure that everything is how it needs to be. I'm testing PC, I'm testing anime, I'm testing movies next. I have not gotten around to movies, but so far so good. But the thought process and how I get as much as I can out of it is to literally sit there and study and learn how things work, right? So the biggest thing is, what? My wife is like, she's staring at me, she's like, so the biggest thing is making sure that you don't lose a lot of your common sense behind some of the stuff, but also you go into it with a game plan, right? So for me, to get the most out of the settings and to get what I want out of the picture, I sit there and I study it. I study the algorithm, how it processes, what it does. And then of course there's another side of it that I can't teach. That is years of experience from photography, video editing, work in general, right? There is a certain level of knowledge that has to go into it, and it would take several years to learn that theory and that background to know what does what. And of course I'm not going to sit and tell everybody how to do that. I mean, God, could you imagine the copycats that would turn up after that? Not that it's a bad thing, but I'd be annoyed because nobody would ever give me credit for it. They just take my shit and be like, yeah, don't know who that he who shall not be named guy is. I swear, like, I think I'm the only YouTuber, AV YouTuber right now that goes wildly like hush hush, and they all try to pretend like I'm some crazy quack guy that doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, dude, I know about as much as the top guys here and more, and then I know more than all of the independent guys that just popped up within the last 2 years. Like, facts. Like, I can slay them in knowledge, but nobody cares. Everybody likes positivity, you know, and I'm not a positive person, as you guys probably see. Sometimes I'm negative when it needs to be, and I think my exact persona is realist, right? It is what it is. That's my mantra here. It's like, it's going to be good, it's going to be bad. But as far as particular, how do I game the system? How do I get the most out of the TVs? For example, some TVs are shit, right? And you'll find, like, when that happens, watch me carefully from this point forward. You'll see it. If there's a TV that I genuinely cannot get anything out of it, I'll walk away. That's how you game the system. You learn when to call it. And like, learning when a TV can't be used. That's the biggest thing. Like, it has to have a certain level of potential already latently, and for me, I see very quickly certain TVs don't have that ability. They just fall flat. And I'm sitting there, I now call it at about 4 hours. If I've been on the TV for 4 hours trying after breaking it in for, you know, another 4 hours, I'm not going to sit there all day and waste more of my time, my family's time. I'm just going to walk away from it and tell you guys, hey, listen, unfortunate, but this TV has no potential. Do not buy that thing. You're going to be sitting there for a long time working. And sometimes I'll try to give some settings, like for the Sony X950g, which I still have to post those settings. But I think, no, I've actually posted them already. I get so forgetful sometimes. But yeah, that's one of those things. So that's kind of how I do it. Of course, again, there's a whole other background here. But yeah. So let's dive into... thanks for answering. Just one more question. Could you use the Sony A85K settings on standard mode on the A80J? I think you mean X85K. No, they're very different. So the biggest difference, obviously, with it being OLED, I don't have to be as aggressive in certain areas. So certain technologies would not be enabled, things like that. And of course, it's a whole different panel, so different methodology of how I go about creation. So that's not advised at all. I think what would be more realistic is if you go with the A80J settings that I did last year and then use those. That'll probably be more ideal. Well, actually, yeah, well, you have the A80J model, so that's probably why you're inquiring. I'm not going to make promises here. It really depends on how we're looking as far as, like, you know, how the channel progresses and, you know, budget and all that. I mean, things are expensive now, as you guys know. But I will try my best to see about the A80K, because I know a lot of people have been trying to, like, get their hands on it and get settings for it and things like that. I do get a hell of a lot of requests for the TCL 6 series still. I'm just holding out for the newer one because I feel like they're really going to apply one way or the other, but I want to make sure. Again, I just want to make sure for all those things. So, yeah, I wouldn't advise doing that. Is standard mode on Sony better than custom mode? Yes. Custom mode usually is the flattest profile in pretty much every Sony, and they kind of want you to build up from there, but it takes a lot to build up, and usually there's a steep learning curve with doing that. And more importantly, standard mode out the gate has certain features, for example, on their OLED line, that you will never get on any other mode. So what I mean by that is they, back in even my era for the A8G that I have, they baked in the logo luminance mode and the endurance, if you will, behind the standard mode, where if you're watching static content for long periods of time, they tell you specifically you need to be in standard mode. Custom mode doesn't have that, and none of the other modes have that. So it's one of those things you have to know. Like, but how are you going to know that? They don't put that on the box. It's not in the product description anywhere. You've really got to know your stuff on this. So with that, I mean, it's pretty specific. So yeah, I would say just use standard. That is the safest way if you were trying to go between standard and custom, with finding the better one, because you'll get it there. But again, to be fair, custom sometimes can hold a brightness advantage over standard mode with Sony TVs, and in the form of like global brightness. The whole screen will be way brighter usually. However, again, kind of flip the coin again, algorithmically, which, you know, not to be too annoyingly technical or whatever, it's just you have more of a what is it? It kicks in differently as far as like the luminance and the contrast mapping, things like that. It's tighter usually on standard mode, so you'll find higher luminosity where it needs to be. So like, for example, I say this all the time, but like the practical lights in the background, like for example, my little lights here, or the little lights over here in the back, or the lights above me, those are considered practical lighting. Okay, those types of lights will look way better on a Sony in standard mode than they will on custom, because for whatever reason custom doesn't really target as strongly as standard does, because they're expecting it to be the standard mode. So hopefully that helps. Thank you. I feel like I'm asking many questions. God bless. Hey, that's what this is all about. I don't feel bad about asking questions during the live stream at all. That's what I'm here for, man. Pick my brain. That's what I'm here for, man. Hello, Quantum. I can only imagine your latest experience with the firmware with the Samsung S95B, what it's like. You said, I would have been livid, which I was. You say, but I hope it doesn't stop updates altogether in the future. It does. I know this is going to sound weird at first, but like, I think updates is a fool's errand. And I say that not as somebody who's just being a jerk to everybody watching, but I think genuinely. And I'm going to say it, even though I hear it in my head and it does not sound right, and people on the other end of this camera will be like, that's terrible. I'm still going to say it, okay? It is a fool's game to update. You've got to be stupid to do that at this point in how we are with technology. Why? I have shown so much from 2016, especially with those TVs like my Samsung KS8000 being nerfed and destroyed, 2018, well actually even 2017 with my Sony X930e, with 2018 with my Q8FN that's behind me getting nerfed for brightness and losing 100 nits. Like, I have shown so many, like, concrete, not a coincidence, updates are not effective after the fact when the newer models come out. And if you're even close to that, don't do it. I swear, if your TV is more than a month or two old, do not update. It's not worth it. And even then, don't update. It's really, really, really it's not worth it, and I can't do it anymore. It's to the point where like now I've taken another hit knowing what I know about Samsung. I let them destroy 2 of my really good TVs already with the KS8000. That is my biggest regret. It was flawless out the gate, not a single complaint. After that update, they destroyed it. Yeah, I regret that. And then, of course, what did my dumb ass do? I go and I update the Samsung Q8FN. They take 100 nits away, but it's still good. It's still good, so I leave it where it's at. I heard it got a lot worse, though, after updates. I ain't gonna play that game, right? Okay. So in my mind, like, you guys don't know, but in my mind, I'm like, alright, screw it. No more Samsung TVs. I'm not gonna do it. Fuck it, right? But it doesn't work that way, because I bought the Samsung S95B, the world's first quantum dot OLED, and it frazzled my mind. And the sound quality is really, oddly enough, what kind of draws me in along with the picture. I didn't expect the sound to be that good with deep, rich bass. I didn't expect that, so I was like, hey, cool, don't need a sound bar. It already comes with kind of one in there. It's like, it's really good sound. So, you know, that's kind of it. But then what did I do? I updated it, gave in the community pressure. Everybody was like, hey, check out this update. I do that, and no sooner than I do that, I regret it instantly. immediate. Bro, you guys ever heard, like, I don't know how many of you guys are watching TikTok or whatever. There's audio on TikTok where there's some guy that goes around and he's like, emotional damage. That's what that shit does to you, bro. 2300 in and you can't reverse an update. Like, bro, never again. Like, I can't do it. So yeah, that's what I'll say about updates, man. If there were changes, if there were any changes in image processing, etc., I mean, they could come out, bro. Like, on God, they can come out and say, you know what? We're gonna somehow give you smooth gradation, motion boost times 9,000. We're gonna give you the ability to adjust colors. We're gonna freaking, speak to my dream here. Okay, we're gonna give you an S curve to work with. That would be beautiful, right? Because then I could really get everything flawless. And then, I'm sitting here like, wow, that's great. Still wouldn't update the TV. That's how serious I am. Because what they give you, they'll advertise on this little patch note thing. But then what they take away, quiet. They'll never say a word. So, it is what it is. Do you plan on buying the new Saints Row game this year and reviewing it for us? I do not. I don't play Saints Row, never have, so I don't really know what it's all about. So it's a pass for me. Do you recommend a basic 2-point calibration before putting your settings in on the LG C1? Yes, that is the most ideal way. I think if you can do it, always try to do at least the 2-point. The 2-point is my most recommended. I personally don't believe in doing what some of the other perfectionist calibrators like to do. They like to sit there until the machine tells them it's 100% accurate and then go even further beyond what's perceptible. Like, dude, if it's Delta Era 3 or lower, stop. Nobody's going to see it. That's what the science tells you. It's humanly perceptible. But you guys see people all the time. Like, I see these charts of like 0.1, 0.2. You can't see it. What are you doing? You're wasting hours of your life to be a perfectionist? And then, of course, nobody looks at those accurate, super accurate images and go, wow, best thing I ever saw. They go, oh, okay, looks good. All right, solid, accurate picture. See what I do instantly, inaccurate as hell, okay? And I have to say my settings will be inaccurate from a scientific perspective because I'm not adhering to the Delta Era. I don't care about that. I care about what you see. The end result is all I care about. And if that looks a certain way, or I've got to use a certain feature that's going to ramp brightness up and destroy accuracy, I'm going to do it. If I've got to do whatever I've got to do to make that picture shine like nothing you've ever seen before, every ounce of the picture quality to show you what you paid for, that's what I do, right? People don't agree with that approach, and they're more than welcome to, but a lot of you guys do. So, yeah, when it comes to that kind of thing, I would definitely say do a 2-point first, then you can really see my settings on top of that. That'll be really lovely, because that's how I do it. I, of course, do my 2-point calibration first, and I don't do the multi-point, because what I'm doing 9 times out of 10 is like highly custom, super off the books, not off the books, but it's like off the rails, right? And I just kind of make it look incredible, right? And I geek out sometimes, like watching my shit. Sometimes I'm watching like on the S95B right now, I'm watching some of this stuff, and like anime specifically, I've taken a real shine to Crunchyroll, and oh boy, man, like all I want to do is like spend all day watching anime, and it's so bad. I'll start watching a show, and then it'll be like 12 episodes. It'll be like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be like, oh God, what have I done with my only day off? Like sometimes it gets that bad. So, I'm sure you anime watchers know what I'm talking about. The binging is real. Okay, so, hi Quantum. I'm having a bit of an issue with my TCL R646. You said, I can't get auto game mode to turn on. I have ALM settings of the TV. Wait, you have it setting for the TV itself and you can't change it. That I don't actually know. I haven't spent an extensive time with the TCL S5 or R646. Don't know why I said S in the beginning. I haven't spent an extensive time with it enough to know the menu well enough to be able to dive in there off the top of my head. So that's something I can't really help with right now. Maybe if I see the new one, like the replacement, then maybe. Like I imagine they're going to go really cliche and be like R7. Or no, they're going to keep it the 6 series. So I don't know. What are they going to do? R56 or R656. I don't know. They're going to do something weird with the numbers. But the new one, I'll try to check into that for you. So, yeah. Will you be reviewing the Sony A95K? I'm still on the fence about that one. Reason being is because it's a $3,000 television, and I know for a fact, as cool as it may be for people to watch it as like a novelty, like, oh, cool, that's what a $3,000 TV looks like. Ain't nobody buying that shit. I mean, let's be real. Nobody's buying that. It's a $3,000 55, $4,000 65-inch. Dude, you can have so much better. You have a 77-inch and 85-inch for those prices, and nobody's going to do that, right? And this whole trying to sell it as a connoisseur's television, this shit's not going to fly for a lot of people who actually work hard for their money and don't want to just waste it on a smaller size when they wanted a bigger one. You know, they'll wait for something bigger to come out with quantum dots or some shit like that, right? So, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm not going to lie. Part of me wants to get it and test it out because I know for a fact all of these motherfuckers running around here, dude, pardon my French, talking about, is it a winner? It's the best OLED, king of OLED. It might take 2022. All this hype. I know it's false, and I know they're lying about motion because they say that shit every year about Sony no matter how busted the motion is. They go, oh, it's so good. It's so good. The motion is great. Everybody will have excellent motion. And I look at all of these artifacts. It looks like the opening of a Gretzko. If you don't know what that looks like, go look at that. And that's what it looks like. All that weird little juddering shit that she does. That's a Sony TV, man. And I get so disgusted with all the artifacts that Sony has, like legendary artifacts. Like, I mean, really, Legend of the Hidden Temple over here or some shit like that, Indiana Jones or whatever. So it's one of those weird things for sure. But yeah, I might not. No thoughts on the JBL soundbar. Does Sony destroy TVs with software updates? Yes, they all kind of do that. Fair enough. Didn't realize you had issues going back to the KS8000. Yes, I did. It was miserable. Shout out to Mark Custer. Thank you for becoming a new member and joining the VIP family here, man. Welcome, brother. Handy card, what's going on, man? We've got, I looked at the A80J settings, but only the IMAX enhanced mode and custom mode were calibrated. Could I use the same settings from either mode on the standard? So when you are talking about modes, 9 times out of 10, a lot of the settings or core settings are interchangeable, but some settings aren't. So it really, you're going to have to play it by eye because sometimes they target different looks. If we're just calling it as clearly, simply as we can, sometimes each mode does something very different, so you're going to have to adjust for that. So you can always try. I would say take a picture or a video of your settings, and then from there, then I would mess around with stuff, and if I don't like something, then I go watch that video back on my phone or something, and then put back in what I adjusted or removed. That would be the safest way I would recommend for you. Thanks for answering question. Much appreciated. No problem, Mark. We've got Sean. What's going on? You said the reason I bought my C1 last October, and you said, guys, I'm with you with the C1 life. You said, thanks for doing what you do. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm still with you, man. I'm not going anywhere. The C1's going to get lifetime support as far as settings. I'm not going to be updating it, but I will constantly give better settings and things like that as I can. And it's always a learning process with anything in life, and I love the process of studying how far the TV can go. Like, I'm at points where I'm like, the TV can go no higher. This is it. And then I take it even farther. So hopefully you guys can see more of that. But yeah, it's a lifetime deal here for me, man, and I'm glad to have you guys along for the journey. Last question of the night. What would you rate motion soap opera effect on the Samsung S95B from 1 to 10 coming from the Sony X950g motion? Here's a guy who has fine taste and knows. You know exactly what the standard is. Compared to the Sony X900E, I would say the motion rating is about 8.5, I would say, compared to the Sony, because the Sony X900E just knocked that crap out of the park. C1 still takes the cake for motion. But it's just when you get to lower frame rate content, sometimes you have some problems, and that's really like as far as like not necessarily too many artifacts, but it's almost like a stutter or a judder. I know a lot of that has to do with sometimes with PlayStation 5, but it's not also as smooth as I would like. There's a little bit more motion blur, so stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I would say. I would give it an 8.5. Alright, so that basically concludes everything. I am so glad that all of you were able to come out, ask your questions. Hey, we're doing this again next week, 7 p.m. through 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. By the way, please let me know on this video in the comments if the audio was good, because I'm trying something out with audio. I always have these damned problems with audio, so I'm really trying something new here. So let me know if it actually worked out this time around, because I'm no ace. But that being said, I'm going to end the live stream. I appreciate all you guys. Anonymous says, was quotation mark accurate? Then I ran across your Beyond Reference tunes. It changed everything. I fell in love with my TV all over again. Even my wife finally took a notice of my tweaking, saying, there's more to it, I imagine. Audio is good, thank you. Now I'm kind of curious what your wife says. You got to let me know what your wife says in the comments down below, Anonymous. Alright. I see it worked out so far, so I'll take your word for it, man. Good, thank God. I hate these audio problems. But alright, it's time for me to go and spend some time with the family. As you guys know, I have one of those, and I cannot neglect them all day. My wife is literally behind the camera dancing, and I feel bad because she's just, now she's doing the Tina Belcher. Oh God. I don't even, it's an unsightly thing. Oh God. Alright, so I'm going to go spend time with the family. But you guys have a blessed and safe night. Take care. Hey, join me next week. We're going to have some more fun. And we're going to have more awesome content coming up this week. So, thanks for watching. And until the next video, I will see you guys later.